So anyway, we have a very special panel today because we have two incredibly successful entrepreneurs who have decided to give back to society and give back to the world and run for public office. So I think that's very unique. And why don't we start by each of you? We'll start with you, Denis. Do you want to give a summary of your background and let us know a little bit more about you?
Jayson, you're the local. You should start. Yeah. And you had the tequila, so you're fine.
So I started off as a businessman. I pivoted from Wall Street to tequila making and Bitcoin artist. I was born in Israel, moved to America when I was 3, raised in Cleveland, Ohio, spent my adult life on Wall Street, then moved here 7 years ago, just enough time to run for governor. I think businessmen make unique politicians. For we haven't gone through the typical political avenue where a lot of outside forces determine their ideology. Therefore, businessmen can have a different perspective on politics, and I think it speaks to people with a lot more authenticity than typical politicians. For so many politicians out there, especially nowadays, have outside agendas. They say what they need to say to get elected, but then do the complete opposite. And businessmen, especially honest ones, won't do that. And I think I will speak to the people of Florida, and I want to make Florida a very godly state. I'm a very pro-God candidate. I'm a libertarian. I am the complete opposite of a Marxist, and I think... Let's go. I believe the Marxists have invaded Western civilization, and we need a strong leader to fight against them to ensure the beautiful beaches of Florida are not invaded by the Marxists. And that's what I'm running on, and with the Lord's help, I will win.
Wonderful. So, he's the fighter, I'm the charmer. I'm French. So, what can I do? Basically, I was born in Normandy, if you're familiar with France. So, my mother was born in Paris, but there was these very nice guys coming from Germany in the 40s, and they say, go somewhere. So, was born in Normandy, modest family, we lost everything. I was a gifted student, so a very bad one. So, I wasn't doing anything at school because I was good. And then I became a good athlete, so I became in Normandy, the first French and European champion for running. So I'm a competitor as well, and I love running a little bit less these days. I'm running slower, and Miami, it's too hot to run anyway, so it's not the right place. I spent half of my professional life as an entrepreneur. I started my first company, I was 27, which is basically 4 or 5 years ago, so I'm still young. And very young, very young. My kids are older than me, so that's how young I am. And so I've been living my life as an entrepreneur since the age of 27. Lived in Morocco, lived in Africa, lived in a different part of the world. And at some point in 2019, I asked for the political and climate asylum here in Miami. And I've been living here for 5 years between New York and Miami. And now we'll be going back to France to run for the presidential election. So it takes place next year, April. So the first round will be on my birthday, which is hopefully a good sign. And the second round in May. And so you will be invited to, so buy French passports, vote for me, and you will be invited to the inauguration speech. Yeah.
Excellent. No, I mean, look, we see here in the United States, our president, of course, is a business leader, a ferocious business leader. And we think, having someone who's been in business, is now in politics, who's running the country, has really allowed him to kind of cut to the chase and get things done quicker than former presidents that were, just bureaucratic politicians. How do you say Jayson, how do you see your entrepreneurial background contributing to your successes as governor? And do you think that's an advantage in this race?
I think it's 100% an advantage. First of all, Donald Trump paved the way for entrepreneurs to take high office. And I think it really proves that running government is very much like running a business. Except without the bureaucratic red tape, you can actually run it way more efficiently. I'm running a very, very unique campaign. I am running on using ordinal and NFT technology as opposed to typical methods of campaigning. And I'm really out to prove to the world the power of Bitcoin and the power of ordinal technology. I'm not even taking donations because I don't want, my views are very extreme. Like I said, I'm a libertarian. I'm very against the Marxist assault from within our society, within French as well. They are invading Western civilization from within. And I have a very strong opinion on it. And I am not, I'm using a very, very unique style of campaigning, which speaks to Bitcoin people, but soon will speak to everyone. I'm trying to prove out the technology by doing so. And, not having those bureaucratic red tape tied to me will allow me to run this state where I help strictly the people of Florida, as opposed to outside agendas that control so many politicians nowadays. And I'm a capitalist as well, and I want people to flourish, but I come from the streets, and I'm loyal to the streets. And I believe I'll be able to speak to the poor, because I want them to flourish, I want them to prosper. I really care about humanity, and I think I'll make for a very, very good candidate.
So, no, it's a very interesting moment in time because there's the trust with politicians is over. Wherever you go, whether it's emerging countries or developed countries, there's a single thing in common: people don't trust politicians anymore, anywhere. That doesn't happen. So it's the reason why there's so many people that are non-voting anymore. In France, it's basically 45 to 48%. I think it's much bigger here in the US. It's 1 out of 5, 1 out of 4 or something. So it's very limited. So the first thing is that the only way that people will be going back to voting for someone, it's first and foremost if it's a non-politician. So because they will be trusting somebody coming from the street, from the ground, not disconnected from reality, and suddenly they will be voting for us. And when I say for us, for you, for me, because there are so many entrepreneurs in this room, men and women, and hopefully more women than men, but I could elaborate on that. The second thing is that we bring at least out of 1,000 reasons, 3 main reasons. First thing is risk-taking. In France, we have something in the constitution that one president put 30 years ago, which is the precaution principle. It means that you don't take risk. Risk is a danger. So it means that every time you take precaution as a principle, you take success as an exception. It's not working. Of course, you're risking your money every day, almost your life every day. There's some risk-taking, even learning to ride a bike or whatever. There's a risk. I'm riding a Harley-Davidson. It's a stupid thing to do in Miami. People drive like crazy. So I'm doing it. So you need some kind of risk. Second thing, accountability. In France, in so many countries, politicians are making mistakes. Who is paying the bill? The taxpayer, and preferably the successful people. So basically, politicians are destroying the wealth and punish the successful people to pay for their mistakes. It cannot happen again. And the third thing is only delivery and accountability. So at some point, when you're an entrepreneur, you need to deliver. If you don't deliver, your shareholders say, bye-bye. Your investors say, bye-bye. Your clients leave, and that's called bankruptcy. In France, and so many European countries, when you fail, not a problem. There's another one coming to replace you and doing the same mistake. So it has to stop. So I think that being an entrepreneur is certainly the best thing that can happen to any country in the world. And most of the time, at least I'm sure it's for Jayson and me, for me it will be one term. Or you do the reform the first term, or you won't never do it. So I don't want to be re-elected because my wife would kill me, and I don't want my wife to kill me or slap in the face like they do with Macron. So I don't want the same thing. Yeah.
Well, why not? If you're doing well, you wouldn't want to do a second term?
If people cry for me in the streets for a second term, I'll think, no, honestly, there's so many, I think it won't be happening. But, at some point, the reforms that need to be made on culture, values, principle, identity, economy, you do it in the 2 first years. You don't need 5 years, and you certainly don't need 10 years. So I see my responsibility as being elected and preparing the people that will be taking over after me to make sure that we stay on the same line, cutting spending, lowering taxes, opening the business, and so on, not staying in power, because the second term, basically, you're a tourist and you're visiting all the countries with the taxpayers' money that Macron has been doing for the last 3 years, because everybody hates him, so he doesn't want to stay in France more than a few days a month. So that's basically the thing. So I don't want to stay for a second term.
No, makes sense. So I think, look, you're both from different countries, but there's a lot of things that align kind of the mission here. And we're seeing, now in the global world, countries are working together. So, 2 different leaders from 2 different countries. How do you see the parallels between what you're both doing and how it's interconnected?
I have a very geopolitical ideology. I have a very unique, keen view of the world, and I realize that there's a globalist Marxist pursuit, and they're really targeting Western civilization. France is a great example of such. And many other countries in Europe, such as Spain, England, Ireland. And to be honest with you, if Clinton would have won 2016, we probably would be in the same place now. Thank God for our wonderful leader, Donald Trump, and he's been fighting off this invasion. However, I see it as dire. I really do see these midterms as something that patriots need to rise up and need to fight, need to use their voice. The Marxists want us to be the home of the coward and the land of the slave. We are the home of the free. We are the home of the brave and land of the free. And we need to ensure that we maintain that bravery and courage. Because if it doesn't happen, they want to strip away everything from us. They want open borders, no nations, and no freedoms. And we really have to understand how dire it is. And I think Florida has been led by a wonderful, wonderful, courageous governor, DeSantis. And I truly believe it needs to have a follow-through leader that's very strong, that has good ideals, conservative backing, conservative ideology, to ensure that Florida continues to prosper. Florida is the staple of America liberty. We see so many states have fallen and so many cities have fallen. It's very sad to see. And we must be courageous in time of invasion, like I call it. And I call it the way it is, because that's really what's happening. And they yell, tax the rich, but then they run the rich out of town and tax the poor and use that money for their agenda. It's absolute thievery, and it must stop. If we want America to flourish and prosper, we must root out the Marxists. And that's really what I'm running on.
It's becoming a politician is mainly about taking care of the present, because that's what defines the future. So if you only have a short term in mind, that cannot work. And for the last 30, 40 years, if you look at every country in the world, it's not working. And what is working? China. Why? Because it's not a democracy and they play the long term. And unfortunately for us, Western civilization, the long term always wins. So like the casino, you always lose, they always win. The house always win. And so first you need to understand that's a competition. People say China is the enemy. For me, it's a competitor, not an enemy. It's a different system, in a different culture. It's super efficient. And on AI, China is certainly now almost leading the way in so many ways. So what we have in common with Jayson and usually is one, we are facing the same fight against our identity. So what makes for me, a French guy, why I love specifically New York, but the US so much is that there's all these people coming from everywhere, but they are united by something. You can see that they love this country, they love the city, they love everything. And they're coming from everywhere. They can be Latinos, they can be from Africa, from Middle East, whatever, they are going together. Now we are going against each other. So because there's strong forces, mainly radical Islamism, which is just killing the fabric of society. And the good thing about me, the only good thing about me is my wife. So my wife is African. Yeah, she was born a Muslim. She converted later. I'm mostly Jewish and a part of Catholic on my father's side, grandfather's side. So I'm open to everything. And at some point, if you want to build a country, you have to fight for your identity because it defines the way you will be building your future. And if you think that we are separated by the Atlantic and it's not coming in the US, it's coming to the US. It's coming here. It's coming now. It started in New York, in different places. And see, if you think that it's a white supremacist kind of stuff, never again. It's really a fight that is fight with a lot of money, a lot of influence, and we share that together. The US and France and Europe should be realigned to win, fight this fight and win this competition. The competition is with China, the fight is with radicality. So that's what we have to do. So what I created a think tank, it's called Future Realigned. You can do donation, it will be helping my campaign in France, and you won't be involved in a French campaign, which is good for you, and you still get a tax break because it's in the US. And the way it's, because we'll have 1 year in common with the Trump administration, we'll be able to realign the fight that I was mentioning, investing in the future, that's what we need to do, and we need to make sure that this identity through diversity is still there. So I don't have anything against immigration. The US was based on immigration. I've got everything in radicality, whatever the religion, but at this time, we know where is the problem. So yeah, we need to realign, work together, make that a success, and really we need to work together. So if you think that a French election doesn't have an impact on the US, you're definitely wrong. If you think that we should fight together to realign everything, you're definitely right, and I already love you, so thank you for that.
That's incredible. I want to see, because we only got a couple minutes left, if anyone in the audience would like to ask any questions. Anybody has any questions? Anyone? Raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, well, no questions.
Well,
okay, so
I don't mind speaking for less.
no.
We have questions for each other.
Okay, you guys can ask some of each other questions if you like to, but I mean, it'd be good to know what's next for you. But
I would just add on what you're saying is that there's a red-green alliance, right, where the red is importing radical Islam into Western civilization in order to denationalize our national identity. So it's a weapon of the red. So really, why attack the weapon? We should attack the warrior. Really, and you see with the judges, with district attorneys here in America, and by the way, it's already here in America. It is already full-on assault. And if it wasn't for Donald Trump, we'd be just where Europe is. And Europe has been taken over, and I think it's dire, and I pray I can make a difference.
So just a brief message of advertising, because I did 3 very successful books in Europe, and I was dreaming like every little French guy to do the same in the US. So I will be publishing 2 to 3 weeks because I've been starting to work on AI and jobs 7 years ago, a little bit early, ahead of time, and it will be published in English in the US. So it's so I hope you can buy it and tell me what you think, because I think it's a very important job, and I want you to think about something. China announced 2 weeks ago that we were doing a law that would say that AI won't be able to replace more than a percentage of certain jobs in companies. And surprisingly enough, Trump did the same thing a few days ago in the middle of this mess with Iran, everything maybe you didn't notice, but saying we should think about doing exactly the same. And it one of the things that I'm saying in the book, at some point, if there's not an agreement on that, the jobs will be left. And if the jobs are leaving, the world will be going to communism and socialism again. Because every time there's some kind of despair, a very bad situation, economically speaking, people move to the left. And so if we don't want that to happen, we need to be, there are many investors in this room, we have been speaking about AI. We need to invest in AI, but a meaningful AI and something that doesn't destroy on the long term what will we win on the short term. So again, the long term. So that's the only thing I wanted to add for today. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That sounds terrific. Well, I know we're out of time. If anyone wants to talk to Jayson or Denis, they'll be around outside for further discussions. And let's hope that they both win. I think they're great candidates. So thank you for coming and thank you for this.